you're either on the Patreon or this is free on YouTube.
Okay.
Whatever. We left off at LBJ.
LBJ. First of all, there's an interesting tie-in, a person that ties together JFK, LBJ, and Nixon.
Is it my mother's cunt?
It's your mother's cunt.
Is it really?
No, it really wasn't.
Oh, God damn it.
No, there are some parts of history your mother's cunt did not figure into. There's only a few. But the person who's sort of that combines these three figures in an interesting way is Jackie O. Because, first of all, obviously she's connected to JFK because he fucked her.
Yeah.
But there's this great, first of all, and I've been to like every presidential library, not every, I've been to a lot. And Nixon's has this really weird artifact. They always have these artifacts, like the actual written. So there's these notes. It's a letter written by Jackie O to Nixon right after JFK was shot. Like it's one of the first things she did. And it's like on hotel stationery. And it's just in her hand, and it's like many pieces, like little notepad pieces. She sat down and wrote a letter to Richard Nixon, because the thing with all these families is they all hung out together. So even if they were political enemies, like if Kennedy and Nixon are debating, Pat Nixon and what's her name and Jackie hung out. They were all their families traveled together.
Pat.
What's that?
His wife's name was Pat.
Patricia Nixon. Yeah.
Was she cute?
I mean, I don't.
Would you fuck her?
You know, ladies back then. Ladies.
Yeah.
She was a lady. With the hair.
Yeah. It just sucks. He's, the other cool guy has.
He was desperately in love with her.
He's got Pat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He really loved her very much, Patricia. The story about her that I love is that Nixon, she was a librarian. There's a lot of stories about presidents that have this in their history. He went to the library and there was this beautiful Patricia, young librarian, and he would go in there and talk to her. Been looking for the, Boswell's history biography of
How to Live with a Huge Cock.
Yes. Yes, I just don't know how to do it. And one day he went in there and he said, I just came to tell you that someday I'm going to marry you.
Oh, man.
And Patricia said, no, you're not.
Yeah.
I have a boyfriend. He goes, okay, who's this boyfriend? She goes, he lives in this town over, And he goes, how are you getting there? Are you going on a date? She goes, yeah, I have a date with him tonight. She goes, well, how are you getting there? She goes, I'm taking a bus. He goes, no, I'll drive. That's unsafe. So he would drive her to her dates.
Whoa.
And he would look after her. He's like, you're going to marry me someday. And so he just sort of was her friend, and he looked after her, and then he wore her down. Same thing with Truman and Bessie. Bessie, he wrote long letters to that we have now. And in one of the letters, he wrote and said, I want to marry you.
Yeah.
And she wrote back and said, geez, Harry, I'm just don't love you. I like you that way. And he wrote back and he said, I just want to thank you for not making fun of me when I asked you. So let's please remain friends. And they were friends for years.
And then he started killing
it. And she started looking at herself in the mirror and going, I'm not getting any younger.
Yeah.
And this dude might be something. So I don't know what went into it.
We were just looking at a guy. I was watching a thing on presidents before we left, and it is a theme where they try to get with a lady and they're like, no. And then they're like, I'm just going to be the fucking president.
I'm going to be the best guy ever.
Yeah. It's what happened when you saw the movie Vice? It's my favorite part of the movie with Cheney.
We'll get to them.
Getting a DUI,
his wife.
Getting a DUI and getting a fight.
He was a fuck up.
And then she's like, "You're a loser. I'm gonna leave you." And he's like, "I'll become the greatest man of all time."
Well, she made him that. Made him that. But I'll get to that because I met that lady. So.
Wait, what was the story of the letter Jackie sent?
So Jackie, when John was dead and she still got his blood on her pink dress. She wanted to take it off. It was a nice fucking dress. She's like, I'm not going to wear this for one fucking day. She kept it on. And the thing that she had his brains in her hand. And she walked up to somebody in the operating room and said, does anybody need this for anything?
It's like an IKEA.
She had the president's brain in her.
Yeah.
And she was like,
I found this screw on the ground.
Yeah.
We might have missed some.
And they're like, oh, shit. That doesn't. She's like, is that important? They're like, yeah, it's pretty important.
That's his.
And they're like, she's like, you want to put it back in? They're like, no, you go ahead and eat it. And she ate his brain. It's true. It's true. You ever seen the autopsy photos? In the background, you can see her.
You can see Jackie stuffing one down.
Sweetmeats, or whatever you call it. So she wrote, it just reminds me, and this isn't presidential, but this is one of the funniest things that Nick DiPaolo ever said to me. I know I made fun of him in the last one, so I want to praise him. I love the guy. It's like my brother. We used to live together. And I was telling him about this thing that I had heard about. The thing about Nick DiPaolo is that you tell him about something and he finds the joke. So the thing I told him about was that there's somewhere in Asia, they love monkey brains. And the best way to enjoy monkey brains is when they're still alive. So there's these tables with little like skull-shaped holes in them.
Yeah.
And they put the monkey up there and they cut the top of it and you just cut it open and you eat it with a little stylish fork. And I said this to Nick and he pretended to be one of those guys. He's like, I'm sending mine back. It's retarded. Like that would make it taste bad. This one's retarded. I want my money back. Okay, so LBJ. So Jack's dead, and Jackie writes Nixon.
Yeah,
and she says, "Listen, I know that you're gonna charge ahead and try to be president. Like I'm thinking about you right now. With my husband dead, you're the first person I thought of. You and Pat and your family, and I think about what we've all sacrificed of ourselves in order to achieve these great historical moments and in order to be president. And I lost my husband to this. This killed him. And I don't want this to happen to you. You're a good man. You've got a good family. And I'm just saying, this is me saying now, cool it and take what you got and retire and be a family man because it's going to kill you too. Yeah. She wrote this to him.
Wow.
Great moment.
Wow.
Now, there's another thing. When LBJ was president, he was very much in love with Jackie. Everyone loved Jackie.
Yeah.
So LBJ loved Jackie, and there's a tape you can hear of him calling Jackie in the middle from the White House, drunk, in the middle of the night. You hear her like, "Hello," and he's like, "Jackie, Jackie, God damn it, I love you, Jackie," and you hear her go, "Mr. President."
Oh, what a betrayal, dude.
It's just beautiful.
What the fuck?
It's just beautiful. Jackie, I don't know what to do anymore. Mr. President? She's like, in a nice nightgown. Anyway.
Did you ever watch that movie recently with...
I couldn't, as soon as I heard her doing the accent, I'm like, it's just too much.
See, I never heard Jackie.
I don't like biopics. I don't like
really?
It so much. Yeah, not usually.
I'm trying
but
to
anyway.
think. Yeah.
LBJ... I told you this story last time after we stopped, but the two stories I also read and saw in his library. One was that a Mexican woman who lived in his home district in Texas, her husband died. He was killed in World War II, killed in action, and his coffin was sent back to her hometown, and nobody would bury it because he's Mexican. None of the undertakers, none of the cemeteries would take his body because they're only white people. And so she wrote to LBJ, who was at the time her senator, and she said, "Is there anything you can do? I can't bury my war hero husband. He's just a regular fucking corporal who got shot.
Yeah.
And so they have this letter, and then you see his reply. He says, "I'm really sorry to inform you that I can't force those people to do something they don't want to do, and I know it's not enough, but all I can do is bury your husband in Arlington Cemetery with full honors." So that guy's in Arlington. So that's the kind of guy.
Cool.
And that's a quiet story of his. You know what I mean? He was a principled guy. He was a fucked up guy. He was weird. But that's something he did. And
was he? I asked you this before, I think, but was he like? Because he got the civil rights thing going, right?
Yeah, he did. He did passed the civil everything. Rights bill. He used JFK's death to pass everything on civil rights. It was always his intention. He was a integrationist guy. He was a guy who wanted an integration. He lived in Texas, and he was a Southern Democrat.
Yeah.
So he was pragmatic about it.
Is he a big guy? He was big, right?
Yeah, I think he was. Yeah, he was
I don't know why I
stocky.
think of him as big.
He was a farm guy. He was a real fucking country guy, and he did stuff like he had these dogs. And he would lift his dogs by the ears and show the press, look at my dogs. And everybody's like, what the fuck are you doing?
Don't do that.
I guess that's my dog.
Dude, is there anything more unsettling when someone grips their dog up like that?
Yeah,
like
I've never even heard of that.
Well, just even grabbing it by the back of the neck.
But by the ear, he was like a hound, and he held him by the ear. Look at my dog.
Dude, when it's not a puppy and someone grabs it by the back of the neck, it's like, dude, stop.
And also, he used to make a lot of his phone calls on the toilet. And he would have meetings on the toilet, he made a lot of big decisions sitting on the toilet. And they'd talk to him, Mr. President, what do you want to do about Korea? And he's like, I don't give a goddamn or whatever, and so Vietnam and all that stuff. And the thing about LBJ that to me is like an important thing is that he was an empathetic president. In other words, he felt when other people felt. Okay, this is my problem with some other presidents, is that they don't have that. They don't actually. There is a famous photograph you can find of him where one of his, I think it was his son-in-law, I think it was Chuck Todd, was who ended up being a senator from Virginia, turned into a real douche later, but he sent a tape of, he was a lieutenant in the army in Vietnam, and lieutenants were just like having to take platoons out and just get them all massacred. Yeah. So he just sent a reel-to-reel tape to his father-in-law, the president, describing a bloody day in Vietnam and how many guys he lost and how bad it was. And there's a photograph of LBJ listening to this tape, and he's just got his glasses off and he's just sobbing because he knows that he's in charge of this. Yes,
to some
kept
extent.
It going. He still thought it was right, or he couldn't undo it. I don't know.
I think,
but it made him feel.
That's the conspiracies, though.
Well, my uncle is very retired. He's in his 80s, but he was a commander in the Navy, and he was a CB, an instruction battalion. He was an engineer, and they went to Vietnam early when we were still. It was called they were just sending advisors, and so he was sent there to build for them, and he got a bunch. He went around to his Navy friends and talked them into going to Vietnam for this venture. It was not a war yet. And then it turned into a war under his feet. And all the fucking guys he brought over there got killed. Mm. And then he came back to the States and had to tell all their, apologize to their families.